there is a power that flows through you. You already have the power to create whatever you desire. So why is it that you don't experience that consistently in your lived experience? That's what we're going to be talking about today. All right, today we are talking about the number one dream killer, how to transmute that energy when it shows up in your life and how to avoid it so that you really can get consistent results of what you want to have in your life. So whatever it is, if you want to have health, if you want to have wealth, if you want to have love, those are the three big ones, right? But whatever it is, maybe it's just a project, maybe it's just peace of mind, I guess that falls under health. But these are the ways that you get what you want. First of all, I have to talk about how things are created. This is the setup. This is the universal setup. So if you don't understand this, the key might not make a lot of sense, and the thing that blocks you from accessing the key might not make very much sense. So I want to give you a little foundational understanding so that we're on the same page. We have a shared framework here, okay? Number one, there is a spiritual level to reality. There is a spiritual power that flows through you. You actually are a spiritual being. So it's both of these things. It's all that and then some. There's a spiritual energy that enlivens everything in the universe. That's number one, the spirit. Number two, the mental. So the mental is also called the causal level of reality. This is where we set a cause in motion that will become an effect down the road, okay? This power flows through us. We start to direct that power with what we think about, the thoughts that we choose, the decisions that we make, the beliefs that we have, whether we inherited it or made it up ourselves. These are the things that start to move that energy into manifested form. It all starts here on the mental level. Next up comes the emotional level. So at the emotional level, this is where we start to put an energetic charge onto things. So the emotional charge that we give things will either be a positive charge or a negative charge. So the universe doesn't care what kind of charge you want to put on things, what kinds of thoughts you want to think. It is going to give life to whatever you put in front of it. This power of the universe is all about more life, more life. It's just going to mirror back to you whatever it is that you want to grow in your little garden of your life, okay? So next up comes the physical level. So this is where we're actually taking action, doing things in the mundane world. And it could be, so any kind of behavior, it could be inaction. Inaction creates a result as well. So just like the universe doesn't care if you want to have a negative emotion or a positive emotion, it's going to give more life to that. It will give more life to inaction or action. Doesn't matter what you choose, you'll get more of that. That's how it works. That's the setup. Now, I didn't make this stuff up. I'm just cluing you in because you know what? Nobody gave me a manual on how the setup works in this lifetime. I had to figure this stuff out and find people who were teaching about this. So I'm just passing it on. This is the knowledge that you need. Your mental, emotional, and physical choices, so your thoughts, feelings, and actions are going to add up to an aggregate of the results that you see in your life. That is what creates the results that you see in your life. What you think about, what you feel, and what you do. It makes sense, right? It makes perfect sense, okay? So that's what you need to know. That's the foundational level. All right, so the key to creating whatever you want, right? This is the setup of how creation happens. No matter what, no matter if you believe in it or not, this is how it works. So if you want to use this in a conscious fashion and create whatever you want, what you need to do, and it's not optional, you need to take full responsibility for every thought, every feeling, every action, and every result that you get because of those first three, okay? You have to take full responsibility. So responsibility is what gives you this control. You already have the power. You already have the power. The responsibility gives you control of the power. It puts you behind the wheel of your life. It puts you in the CEO position of your life. You're the boss, but only if you take responsibility. You know that saying, with great power comes great responsibility? Let's flip that around. With great responsibility comes great power. Or I would even say the ability to control great power. We already have great power, whether we believe it or not. So that great power will enliven a belief in not having power just as much as it will enliven a belief in having power. So what kind of belief do you think might work better for you? All right. So responsibility is key. That is the key. You take full responsibility for everything in your life. Now, the thing that is going to block. Now, I know there's something else I need to say about this, but first I need to tell you this. The thing that is going to block that ability to take charge of your life, blame. Blame. Blame is the dream killer. Blame is your own self-imposed prison. Blame is the thing that stops you from creating whatever you want. When you're blaming someone else for your thoughts, feelings, and actions, you're missing it. You're missing it. You're lost. You got lost. No big deal. Get back on track. How do you get back on track? Take responsibility. Take responsibility. So blame, it is the pitfall. You have to avoid it only if you want to get better results in your life. That's it. I didn't make this up. This is just how it is, okay? I'm telling you this. We have all been there. We have all been there. And it happens, right? I still catch myself blaming other people for upsetting me or whatever, blaming, what are you going to blame? You're going to blame the weather, the government, blah, 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 blah. There's so many things you can blame. But guess what? What it does is it creates these feelings of being helpless. It creates this kind of impotent rage or despair. It's a feeling of collapse because you don't have the power to change it. The power is out there with that person. The power's over there with the government. The power's over there with your mom or your husband or your whatever, The power's outside of you to make you feel a certain way, make you act a certain way, but that's not real. That is not real. Let's wake up and come back to our true knowledge, our true peace, our true being. It's just the truth of how it is. So blame is going to put you into that collapse. The truth is, no one has power over you unless you give it to them. But you can't really what is it? I want to say abdicate. Is that the word? You can't really abdicate responsibility for your life, but you will experience the pain of trying to make a lie be true. It's painful. It's so painful. Now, here's where it gets sticky. Here's where it gets tricky. And I need to talk about this. This is the thing that I said I was going to get over to next. This is where it gets sticky because we all carry past programming and conditioning, and oftentimes it's interwoven with past trauma that imprints a certain program, pattern, way of being, okay? So I'm not saying that we are responsible for things that happened to us in the past, harm that was done to us, things that we were programmed with as small children when we didn't have a filter. We didn't have a rational mind to filter out information. Everything that we were told, we just took it in as the God's honest truth. And a lot of times even if there was some good stuff in there was some pretty bad stuff mixed in, most of the time. If it wasn't for you, like, congratulations. Everyone I've met has some mix of this, so we've all got dealt different hands in this lifetime. What you were dealt is not your fault. But what you do with it is your responsibility. It is a choice that you can make now. It is something you can control now. So you couldn't control what happened to you when something horrible happened, or you were poisoned with some toxic beliefs, or, you were told that whatever. I don't have to tell you what the toxic belief systems are. I'm sure you know, but I'm not saying you're responsible for that. What I am saying is that now you get to decide. You are the boss. You get to decide, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? You could transmute that into something so powerful, so healing, so potent that you will become this healing presence in the world, in your life, in your relationships, in your community, and in the world. But you have to take responsibility for it. Okay? So I need to say something else about this, because with this sticky stuff, okay? So I'm not saying you were to blame for any trauma or harm that was done in the past. And another kind of dark shadow side of this is, do not get stuck in self-blame or self-criticism. People say, I beat myself up. You're not beating yourself up, actually. The inner critic in your mind is beating up on your inner child. That's what's really going on there. Maybe I'll make a video about that someday, but the important thing is this: do not get stuck in a shame spiral, blaming yourself, shaming yourself, feeling guilty and horrible about things that have happened in the past. Whatever happened in the past, you cannot do anything about it. It is done. You are not changing that anywhere except for in your own subconscious programming. The subconscious program that you still carry from the past is alive and well. It is absolutely present, and therefore it is something that you can change because it is here now. The past is done. So don't get stuck in that shame spiral. That's not helping. What you need is self-love and self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself. If it feels authentic, forgive yourself and then promise yourself that you'll do better next time. That's all it is. It's just about doing better. It's all about just doing better. Everything here is for your learning. You don't learn anything without fumbling, without failing, without making mistakes, without foibles. It doesn't happen without that. We could say, oh boy, I really screwed up. Or we could say, wow, I just didn't know. And now I know. I learned something. Now I do better. We should all look back and, cringe a little bit. There should be a little like, ooh, but mixed with that, like, let's temper it with a really good, healthy dose of self-love and self-forgiveness. Okay? It's all just for learning. That's all it is. All right, so if you want to fast track your ability to create whatever you want, what do you have to do? Take full responsibility for every thought, every feeling, every action, and every result that you get in your life. Number 2, decide. You are the cause. You are the CEO. You are the boss. Here's your mental level. Decide what it is you want. Set that in motion. You will get an effect, but you have to focus only on that. When you go into blame, what happens? You cause big gaps in your creation of goodness in your life. Okay? If you want it to go faster, if you don't want to go through big periods of pain and suffering. Now, I'm not saying pain doesn't happen, but there's a lot of suffering that's totally optional. Avoid the optional suffering. Fast track yourself by focusing only on what you want. Okay? And number 3, practice self-forgiveness. Practice forgiving yourself for making mistakes. Celebrate that you are learning. That's what you're here to do. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. So enjoy it. Enjoy the human foibles of life. Laugh about it. Cry about it. Whatever you have to do. But keep moving forward and keep doing better. That's all it is. And if you do this, I was going to say, trust me, but don't take my word for it. Try it. Have you ever tried this? If you have ever been in this position where you were putting your power outside of yourself and you said, you know what? Not anymore. I'm taking it back. I'm taking charge and I'm making this happen in my life because I said so. Have you ever done that? And if you did, what happened? Drop a comment below if you want to share your experience with some other folks who might be watching this video. I just think it's wonderful. I don't know about you, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos and I love checking out the comment section because there's such a wealth of information in the community. So thank you so much for being here, for being a part of it, and I'll look forward to next time. Bye for now.